Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever wondered what it feels like for someone the moment they realize you're gone? Not when you leave the room, not when you stop texting back for a few hours, but when your presence, the energy, the love, the light you brought into their world suddenly disappears. That's when the silence starts screaming, when they notice the void where you used to be, when they finally understand that what they thought was ordinary was, in fact, extraordinary. And in that moment, they learn the lesson you always knew deep down. You were never replaceable. Imagine for a moment that you disappeared from someone's life tomorrow, not in a tragic sense, but simply because you chose to walk away. What would that feel like for them? How would they process it? Too often we underestimate the value we bring into the lives of others because we get stuck in our own insecurities, thinking we're not enough or that someone else could easily replace us. But the truth is, when you've shown up with your heart, your energy, your humor, your thoughtfulness, your absence leaves a hole that no one else can perfectly fill. When you're gone, the silence speaks louder than you realize. They begin to notice the small things, the text message that used to arrive at midday, cheering them up when the weight of the afternoon settled in, the laugh you gave that broke the tension in a room, the way you saw details about them they thought no one else noticed. All of that vanishes when you leave. And in that emptiness, people feel the sharp edge of what they once took for granted. We live in a world where people can be casual with connections. It's easy to swipe, to move on, to think there will always be another option. But what isn't easy is finding someone who brings a unique combination of presence and soul. When you're gone, they suddenly recognize that casual replacements can't replicate what you had. They might find someone who's attractive or kind or even funny, but they won't find you, the particular rhythm you brought to their life, the specific tone of comfort you carried, the spark of aliveness they felt in your company. That cannot be duplicated. And it's not only about romance. Friends, colleagues, family, anyone who had the privilege of your presence feels it. When you remove yourself from situations where you were the glue, where you were the energy that kept things alive, people quickly realize how much weight you carried. Think about the times you lifted the mood, offered advice, brought everyone together. It's so easy for others to assume that role is replaceable until it's not there anymore. Only then do they understand the void you leave. But here's the beautiful part. Their realization isn't just about you, it's about you understanding your own power. Because too many of us live in fear of losing people when in fact it is often they who should be afraid of losing us. You bring something into every connection, your essence, your loyalty, your warmth, that is irreplaceable. And when you're gone, people come face to face with how rare that is. They might remember the little sacrifices you made, the way you remembered birthdays or how you always checked in after they had a tough day. They might miss the stability of your presence, the way they felt safer knowing you were part of their world. They may not admit it aloud, pride might stop them, but internally there's a shift. They start realizing how much lighter, easier, richer life felt when you were around. Sometimes they only see it when it's too late. In the rush of daily life, it's easy to assume you'll always be there, that your loyalty is infinite, that your patience has no limit. But the moment you step away, they're forced to confront a truth. Nothing is guaranteed. Ed, the person who gave them energy, time and attention, could decide their own worth is higher than settling for less than what they deserve. That wake-up call stings. When they realize you're gone, they may go back through old conversations, revisiting the words you shared. They may recall your voice, the way you told stories, the encouragement you gave when they doubted themselves. They may replay those moments when you laughed together, when you carried them through challenges, when you made them feel alive. Memory becomes sharper in absence because now those moments are no longer easily available. But here's the thing, it's not about making them regret. It's about you knowing that your presence was a gift. Too often we confuse our value with whether or not people actively appreciate us while we're there. Yet real value is measured in the emptiness that follows when it's gone. Think of it like a candle lighting up a dark room. The room may not praise the candle while it burns, but the second the flame goes out, the darkness reminds everyone just how much light it brought. And for you, understanding this shifts everything. You no longer cling out of fear. You don't beg for scraps of attention or tolerate half-hearted effort, because you know deep down that when you remove your light, it will be felt. They will notice. They will wish they had done more to keep you close. And whether they come to terms with that or not is no longer your responsibility. Your responsibility is to protect your flame, to honor the energy you give, and to ensure it's placed in spaces where it's valued. When they realize you're gone, there's often a silence inside them, not just the absence of your voice, but the absence of the version of themselves that only you brought out. Maybe you made them more playful. Maybe you gave them courage. Maybe you softened them or challenged them or inspired them to dream bigger. Those shifts don't just vanish when you leave, but the constant reminder of them, the fuel you gave, is no longer present. That's when I feel it most, when they start to crave the version of themselves they got to experience with you by their side. And you grow. Because every time you recognize that your absence carries weight, you remember that your presence is powerful. You don't have to convince anyone of your worth. You don't have to explain why you deserve better. You simply live in such a way that if someone doesn't appreciate you, you step back, knowing the lesson will teach itself. Time will reveal it to them. And in the meantime, you walk with the confidence of someone who knows the value they bring. So when they realize you're gone, they don't just feel the loss of you, they feel the loss of who they were with you, the energy that surrounded them when you were near, the possibilities that came alive in your presence. And in that space of missing, they finally understand what you knew all along. You were never ordinary. You were never easily replaced. You were the rare combination of heart and soul that changes lives simply by being there. And once you're gone, they'll carry that awareness with them, whether they admit it or not. And once you're gone, they'll carry that awareness with them, whether they admit it or not. They'll start to feel the weight of all the times they didn't thank you properly, or the moments when they brushed off the effort you poured into the relationship. It's easy for someone to convince themselves while you're still there that they don't need to acknowledge everything you do. They think they'll understand. They know how I feel. They'll always be around. But when you're gone, there is no longer the comfort of assumption. They're left with the uncomfortable realization that every unspoken thank you, every overlooked effort, every moment they didn't meet you halfway, now echoes like a hollow chamber in their mind. Suddenly, what felt like endless opportunity earned ties to do better becomes a closed chapter. That's when regret creeps in. They replay the nights when you went out of your way to check in, the times you stayed up late listening to their worries, the way you showed up when no one else did. They begin to wonder why they didn't show more appreciation, why they didn't step up when it mattered. Regret has a way of teaching people the value of consistency, but sometimes only after consistency has been withdrawn. And that's why your absence can be one of the greatest teachers, because people often learn lessons in the pain of what they lose, not in the comfort of what they still have. Your presence may have made their world brighter, but your absence forces them to see how much darker it becomes without you. That's not cruelty, it's clarity. It's life showing them that they can no longer take for granted what was once so readily available. Think about the people in your own past who are no longer around, the ones you maybe didn't fully appreciate at the time, but whose absence you still feel. Maybe it was a friend who always believed in you more than you believed in yourself. Maybe it was someone who loved you with a purity you didn't yet understand. Maybe it was a mentor who pushed you harder than anyone else. You might not have realized their impact while they were present, but in their absence, you discovered just how foundational they were to your growth, your happiness, or your sense of direction. That same realization is what others experience when you're gone. But here's the empowering truth. You don't need to wait for people to understand your value in retrospect. You don't need to beg them to see it now. Because your worth isn't dependent on whether someone acknowledges it in the moment. Your worth is intrinsic. It's not proven by their appreciation. It's revealed in the undeniable shift that occurs when you're no longer there. And knowing that allows you to walk through life with confidence. When you internalize this, something shifts in the way why. Carry yourself. You stop over-explaining. You stop defending your decisions to step back from people who drain you. You stop trying to prove your loyalty to those who haven't earned it. Instead, you embody quiet strength. You give wholeheartedly where you're valued and you remove yourself where you're not. Because you know the truth will reveal itself in time. Your presence is a gift and your absence is a lesson. The people who really love you will not want to experience that lesson. They'll recognize early on how much you matter. They'll step up, they'll meet you in the middle, they'll show gratitude in the small ways that count. But those who don't, those who assume you'll always be there no matter what, will learn through the ache of missing you. And sometimes that ache is the only thing powerful enough to wake them up. In those moments of realization, they might try to reach back out. They might send messages, make calls, attempt to rekindle what they neglected. And whether or not you let them back in is entirely up to you. But the point isn't whether they come back. It's that you finally see yourself clearly enough to make that decision from a place of strength rather than fear. You no longer cling to someone out of the worry that you're replaceable. You no longer settle for crumbs because you know the feast you bring to the table. When they realize you're gone, they also realize something about themselves. They see the parts of them that became dependent on your presence. Maybe they relied on your emotional support, maybe on your belief in them, maybe on the way you inspired them to rise higher. When you're gone, they have two choices. They can collapse under the weight of that loss, or they can finally learn to cultivate those qualities within themselves. In that sense, your absence not only teaches them your value, it forces them to grow. But while you're learning, you're also expanding. Because stepping away from spaces where you're underappreciated creates room for you to invest in people and opportunities that do recognize you. You begin to notice who makes effort without being asked, who celebrates your wins without envy, who listens to you without distraction. These are the people who understand your worth without needing to lose you first. And surrounding yourself with them only amplifies the life you're building. Still, that doesn't mean the old connections won't feel the loss. They will. They'll see reminders of you in places you once went together. They'll hear a song that takes them back to moments shared with you. They'll scroll through photos and feel the sting of knowing those memories are now locked in the past. Absence has a way of making nostalgia sharper. And as they sit with that, they come to a realization. Your departure wasn't just a moment of loss. It was a turning point that revealed how deeply you impacted them. What you must remember is this. None of this is about proving anything to anyone else. It's not about walking away to make someone miss you or holding back love as a strategy. It's about fully understanding that your presence is powerful and refusing to keep it in places where it isn't cherished. The natural consequence is that people will feel your absence when you're gone. Some will learn from it, others won't. But either way, your journey is forward. And the irony is, when you live with that clarity, when you stop begging to be seen and instead stand tall in your own light, you become even more magnetic. People sense when you know your worth. They feel the difference in how you carry yourself. Suddenly, you're no longer the person who is afraid of being left behind. You're the person others fear losing, and that energy changes everything. The people in your life will sense it too. They'll notice the shift, the confidence, the ease with which you move. Some will rise to meet you there, realizing they don't want to risk losing you. Others won't be able to keep up, and they'll drift away. But you'll no longer see either outcome as a reflection of your value, because you know now your value is constant and it is revealed most clearly when you're absent. So when they realize you're gone, let that realization belong to them. Don't carry their regret. Don't shoulder their lessons. Carry only the truth. You are rare, you are valuable, and you are unforgettable. Your presence changes lives. And when you step away, the silence you leave behind becomes the proof of how much you mattered all along. Your presence changes lives. And when you step away, the silence you leave behind becomes the proof of how much you mattered all along. That silence, for them, is not just the absence of sound. It is the absence of reassurance. You were the person who gave them a sense of stability, whether they admitted it or not. You were the voice that could calm their storms, the energy that could lift them out of their darker days, the grounding force that reminded them they weren't alone. When that disappears, people start to realize how much they leaned on you, sometimes without ever telling you. They notice that conversations that once flowed easily now feel flat. They notice that laughter doesn't erupt as naturally. They notice that even the most ordinary moments feel heavier without your presence. And in that heaviness, there is a truth they cannot ignore. You weren't just someone who passed through their life. You were someone who transformed it. The reason it hurts them when you're gone is because your existence in their life left an imprint. You shaped the way they saw themselves, the way they saw the world, the way they felt capable of navigating life. And that impact lingers long after you've stepped away. It's important to understand that this is not about ego. It's not about thinking you are the center of everyone's universe. It's about recognizing that when you show up authentically with kindness, loyalty, love, or light, you naturally affect those around you. You can't be deeply present in someone's life without leaving behind traces of yourself in their memory, their habits, their growth. And that's why your absence is never neutral. It's felt, it's noticed, it reverberates. Sometimes they'll try to distract themselves from that void. They'll dive into work, into friendships, into new relationships. They'll try to fill the space you once occupied with anything that numbs the ache. But here's the thing, distraction isn't the same as replacement. You can't be replaced because no two people bring the same combination of spirit, timing, and energy. They can meet new people. They can surround themselves with noise. But eventually, the quiet moments return, and in that quiet, they feel the outline of the space you left behind. That's when they begin to understand the rare gift of your presence, because what made you special wasn't just what you gave, but how you gave it. The way you listened, not just to words, but to tone. The way you remembered details others forgot. The way you noticed the unspoken needs and met them without being asked. These are not small gestures. These are profound acts of love and awareness. And when they are gone, the absence of them is deeply unsettling. You see, most people live surrounded by half-hearted effort. They live in a world where attention is fragmented, where conversations are shallow, where loyalty is conditional. So when you came into their life with your depth, your consistency, your willingness to go beyond the surface, it set a standard they didn't even know they needed. When you leave, nothing else feels quite the same, because once someone has experienced depth, the shallow no longer satisfies. But here's where the lesson turns back to you. You don't need them to realize this in order to affirm your worth. The true power lies in you knowing it already. Because when you truly know, you don't overextend yourself to prove it. You don't cling to people who minimize your efforts. You don't exhaust yourself trying to convince someone that you matter. You simply live from a place of quiet confidence, understanding that if someone cannot see your value while you're present, life itself will show them when you're absent. And when you embrace that truth, you walk differently. You stop being afraid of losing people and start focusing on whether they deserve to keep you. You stop thinking, what if they don't appreciate me? And start asking, do they actually deserve this version of me? That's a radical shift in energy, and it changes the dynamics of every relationship you have. Because people can sense when you value yourself. They can feel when you no longer operate from fear. And that, paradoxically, is often when they begin to value you more. Not because you're playing games or withholding yourself, but because self-respect is magnetic. It shows others that you are not someone who can be taken for granted. It shows them that if they want you in their life, they must show up fully, consistently, and with intention. And when they realize you're gone, it's not just about missing you. It's about realizing the standard you set. You become the benchmark. Future people in their life will be compared to you, consciously or unconsciously. They'll notice when others don't listen the way you did. They'll notice when others don't support them with the same steadiness. They'll notice when others don't bring the same joy or safety or fire. And that comparison will remind them over and over again of what they lost. But you won't be waiting for them to figure this out. You'll be too busy building a life that reflects the love and energy you always gave so freely to others. You'll be surrounding yourself with people who don't need to lose you to understand and your worth. You'll be channeling your time into projects, dreams, and passions that light you up. And the more you invest in yourself, the more undeniable your presence becomes, not just to others, but to you. When you see yourself as irreplaceable, you stop giving discounts on your energy. You stop tolerating half-hearted love, conditional support, or friendships that drain instead of uplift. You become intentional about where your light shines, and as a result, your life becomes richer, deeper, more fulfilling. And here's the irony. The more you live this way, the more unforgettable you become to those who had you and lost you. Because now, not only do they remember who you were in their life, they see the glow of who you've become since you left. They realize that your story didn't end when theirs did. You kept growing, evolving, and rising. And that contrast only deepens the ache of your absence. They may try to come back, not out of convenience, but out of genuine recognition. They may finally see what they missed, finally understand the depth of your presence. Whether or not you allow them back in doesn't matter. It's the awareness itself that proves the truth you already knew. You mattered then, you matter now, and you'll matter long after. And for those who never return, who never acknowledge what you brought, that doesn't erase your impact, because the universe has a way of carrying your energy forward. Every life you touched, every moment you changed, ripples outward. They might never say your name again, but they'll live differently because of how you showed up. And that is the quiet legacy of your presence. So when they realize you're gone, let them feel it. Let them sit with the weight of what they lost. Not because you want revenge, not because you need validation, but because it's the natural consequence of living with an open heart. People will always remember the ones who gave them light. They may not acknowledge it in the moment. They may even take it for granted. But the moment that light is gone, the contrast is undeniable. And in that contrast lies the ultimate reminder, not just for them, but for you, that your value was never in question. It was there all along, written in the way you loved, the way you showed up, the way you left people better than you found them. And that value remains, no matter who sees it, no matter who forgets it, no matter who realizes it only once you're gone. And that value remains, no matter who sees it, no matter who forgets it, no matter who realizes it only once you're gone. Because value isn't something that disappears when someone fails to recognize it. A diamond doesn't stop being a diamond just because someone mistakes it for glass. The sun doesn't lose its brilliance if someone happens to sleep through the sunrise. You don't lose your worth simply because someone couldn't see it while they had the chance. Your value is intrinsic. It is built into who you are. And whether people discover it now, later, or never, it exists all the same. That's what makes walking away so powerful. When you leave situations where you're not valued, you're not punishing anyone, you're simply choosing alignment. You're saying, my light deserves to shine in places where it is honored, not dimmed. And when you do that, the ripple effect is twofold. On one side, the people you left behind feel the undeniable absence of your presence. On the other, you open the door for new people and new opportunities who will treasure what you bring. Both are equally important, and both confirm that your worth was never tied to whether someone appreciated it in the first place. When they realize you're gone, it stirs something deeper inside them. It forces them to face questions they may have avoided for years. Why did I assume they'd always be there? Why didn't I give more effort when I had the chance? Why did I take their loyalty, their kindness, their energy for granted? These questions can be uncomfortable, but they are necessary, because your absence is not just a loss, it's a mirror. It reflects back to them the truth about how they showed up or failed to. And while they wrestle with those reflections, you move forward lighter, freer, and stronger than ever before. And you'll notice something interesting along the way. People often don't realize the depth of your impact until they try to replicate it with someone else. They think, I'll find someone new, I'll move on. And yes, they might meet people who bring joy, who bring companionship, who bring temporary distraction, but what they won't find is you. They won't find the unique chemistry, the specific energy, the way you could walk into a room and make it feel different. They won't find the particular way you believed in them when they doubted themselves, the way you caught details no one else noticed, the way you loved not with conditions but with intention. That combination was singular. That combination was you. And no matter how many people they meet, they'll always feel something missing, even if they can't put it into words. And that missing piece, the space only you filled, becomes their quiet reminder. A reminder that someone like you doesn't come around every day. A reminder that genuine connection is rare and that taking it for granted has consequences. A reminder that once light leaves, it is not guaranteed to return. But while they sit with that reminder, you must remember your own. You do not need their recognition to validate your worth. Too many people live their lives waiting for an apology that may never come, for acknowledgement that may never arrive, for closure that others might not be capable of giving. But the truth is, you don't need it. The acknowledgement you're waiting for from them is already alive within you. You know what you gave. You know how you showed up. You know the consistency, the effort, the love you poured out. That truth is undeniable, and you don't need anyone else's words to make it real. The beauty of understanding this is that it frees you. You're no longer tethered to someone else's realization. You're not waiting by the phone, hoping they'll finally wake up and see what you brought. You're not exhausting yourself, replaying old memories, trying to figure out if you could have done more. You've already done enough, more than enough. And the moment you decide that you don't need external validation for that truth, you step into a freedom most people never find. Because here's the reality. The ones who truly deserved you never needed you to be gone to see your value. They saw it while you were there. They cherished it. They nurtured it. They matched it. Those are the people worth keeping close. Everyone else? Let them learn their lessons in your absence. That's their journey, not yours. And in time, you'll see the difference more clearly than ever. Some people will look back on you as the one who got away, the one they should have treated better, the one who made them feel alive in ways they didn't realize until too late. Others will look back and quietly thank you in their hearts, even if they never say it aloud, for being the person who showed them a higher standard of love, care, or presence. And still others will keep running from that realization, burying it under distractions. But even then, your impact doesn't disappear. It lives inside them, whether they choose to face it or not. That's the permanence of authentic presence. When you've truly shown up in someone's life, you don't just vanish when you leave. You live on in the memories, in the changes you inspired, in the better version of themselves they glimpsed because of you. You become a part of their story, and no matter how that story unfolds, it is forever marked by your chapter. And what about you? You are not defined by being the person they meet. You are defined by being the person who continues to grow, to evolve, to shine with or without their recognition. The irony is that the more you do this, the more unforgettable you become.